On behalf of Techplus Media, I just welcome you all on the 4th Indian ISV and Partner Leadership Awards 2019. This is our 4th edition of ISV. This is an award which we have been doing across in different locations. For partner leadership, we have been doing this award since I guess this is our 9th edition of partner leadership here in the city of Calcutta. So, one thing which I have been narrating in almost all our events is all about how important channel partners are. I think channel plays a very critical role in the entire ecosystem. You are the lifeblood of the entire ecosystem. You are the people who architect the entire solution. You are the people who talk about the true benefits of the IT. You are the people who bring a lot of feedback, customer feedback to the vendor and help them in actually shaping the product. So, you are a very important bridge between a customer and a vendor. So, without you, the entire ecosystem is incomplete. Today, I will just going to be touching upon few trends, for 2019 and 2020. So, can I have a bit of the slides? Okay. So, this is something, if you look at the trend for 2018, India has grown 20-25% as compared to the 8% in other Asian countries. If you look at 2021, India will going to be overtaking UK and France to become the 5th largest IT infrastructure market. From the enterprise perspective, I think the growth within the enterprise in India is coming close to 6%, and what the enterprise have been looking from the Indian market is more towards innovation in the legacy infrastructure. We are not saying this thing just as a media company. We are saying this thing because apart from the channel, we also have our enterprise division where we work very closely with the CIO community, and we have seen what these guys are looking at is a lot of innovation within the legacy infrastructure. And that is what the partner need to do for them. So, this will going to be a trend in the enterprise market. The key driver which we can see is SMB. The reason is very obvious, because if you look at the entire landscape of SMB, so there are close to 51 million SMBs in India, and within the 51 million SMB, there is a huge technical deficit within these SMBs, because they do not have the CIOs and any technical heads down there. So, usually what they do is they as far as the IT decisions are concerned, that is being taken by the owners or the director of those companies. So, there is a huge play for the partners down there. They can go with the advocacy approach, which is more like a consultative approach. Another thing which I just want to touch upon within the SMB market is which I think I have been narrating in one of our videos also, which is on the channel bounce back series, which I do, where I just narrated one thing, that SMB, if you look at the size of the market, it is really next to impossible for any OEM to actually cater to such a large pool, because their EBITDA do not allow them to actually do that. So, definitely they need a partner ecosystem who can really help them in outreaching to such a large size of the pool what the Indian market has. Another thing what we can look at it is the high growth in 2019 will going to be coming from multi-cloud. The trend has already picked up. Managed security is another area, IoT, infrastructure, BI and analytics, artificial intelligence, RPA, managed services. On the left hand side, you can see like SMB I have already touched upon, the reason I have already specified. Another thing which is very important within the partner ecosystem is there is a lot of opportunity which is coming up from China, because China somewhere down the line is going downside. If China is going downside, this means that a lot of factories will going to be relocating from China to other locations, and that also include India as well. So, there is a huge opportunity for partners like you, because it is you who will going to be creating those smart factories for them. So, there is a huge opportunity for the partners. from a transformation perspective within the channel business, what we can see is more that the partners are rapidly moving from a product led to the service led. So, this trend has already started and it has really picked up the pace in 2019 and it will further scale up in 2020. Data localization is something which has been the sweet spot for the OEM and channel partners, because somewhere down the line the current regulation will going to give an edge to all those partners who sell hardwares and SaaS solutions. Managed service, if you look at the trend in managed service, the managed service will going to be growing to 13.5% year on year, and will going to be experiencing the highest in 2020. Software as a service market is driving in almost all software segment in India, contributing close to 12.9% growth. Consulting segment is again very important. What we have seen is like consulting segment will contribute close to 4 billion, which is close to 15.9% by the end of 2019. This is an important slide which I picked it from Canalys. I am sure a lot of partners will resonate with this. How many partners agree with this? Can we have few partners who will agree with this, because this is something which has been there. Vendors have been asking something on rewards, and channel has to say something on selling direct. Partners have been talking about, vendors have been talking about the growth aspect of the customer business, and channel feels that yes, they have been doing pretty decent. Obviously, vendors have been saying something on this selling subscription, whereas channel expect the vendor to focus more towards the customers, and at times partners had been also saying something where they definitely want to reach the customers directly. I'll just going to be discussing a detail around this particular thing in my subsequent slides. These are some of the channel frustration what we can see. This is based on a recent survey which we did, and we realized there is a huge pressure on the margin which most of the vendors do have. So, what you guys need to do is at this point in time is cut the low margin vendors. You have to pick, you have to do a very smart play, you have to pick the best vendor who is really fetching you a decent margins. I'll just give you a classic example. I recently just met Raha Infotech. Why I'm specifically naming this particular VAD, because the kind of solution these guys have, they've been picking certain Israeli product, and the kind of margins they have been making out is decent enough. I think the last year they registered a growth close to 65%, which was much higher than the industry standards. Another point which I just want to mention, because this is again a frustration where we just had a close discussion with a lot of partners, and we just asked them what is the basic challenge for you, apart from the margins. They've been saying something on the deal registration. According to them, deal registration is more like a necessary evil for them. The reason is very obvious, because they want to work only with those OEMs whose deal registration approval time is less than 24 hours. So, this is based on the survey what we have done. Then there is a conflict with the vendors direct sales team also with them, because partner alleged that while the vendors pretend to embrace the partners through partner program and registration, however, in reality they just want to reach the customers directly for the secondary sales. This is again something which is little important. I think we have just covered it in one of our channel bounce back series again. Another thing which is all about the partner program, there are certain partner portals where partner has been saying that there are certain points which have not been cleared, and that need a detailing from the vendor or an OEM, and another thing which we just discovered was all about there is a lack of personal touch. Everything is getting very dashboard driven. If we are talking about tier 2 and tier 3 cities, Fair enough. At the end of the day, definitely, OEMs have been cutting their manpowers in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but at the very same time, they expect the business out of those regions. So if you will not have a personal touch there, how you can expect a business out of those regions? Another thing is, I mean, we have been talking about the digital transformation, we have been talking about the transformation, the velocity at which the OEM is actually moving. Is the partner moving and matching the same velocity? I really do not think so. So, what the partner need to do is, somewhere down the line they need to align with them, and it goes reciprocal. I think there are certain partners who have been really scaling up at a much bigger way, I think, and the OEM need to support them in certain ways. So, it has to be more like a reciprocal relation which need to be there. Slow response is again another channel frustration which has been there, where they require a lot of support, which can be a technical support, a lot of GTM related support, which they have been looking at and which they have not been getting on the existing deals. This is the messaging which I just want to give out to the partners, for 2029. Collaboration, I am sure you people know that collaboration is the key. There are a lot of complex and complicated projects which require many partners to work together. So, if you work together, definitely it will going to give you an edge. The customer will see a seamless delivery and experience a successful completion. So, that is very much required, I think. So, collaboration is the key for the success for the partners, and it is a high time for all you guys to really think around it. Another thing which I just want to pick down is customer centric consultative approach. I think the entire business need to be architect around the customers. Customers are the king, and I am sure you must have been attending a lot of events and you have been reading a lot of literature. So, every business need to be architect around the customer. So, they are the focal point. So, if you really architect everything around the customer, I think then you will be able to make a lot of sense in 2020. Spread your risk. I think this is again something which is really important. The trend is all about multi-cloud. Jeff recently, I think last year itself, he predicted that Amazon will going to go bankrupt. So, which was really a clear message for the customers to actually spread their risk. So, again, this is something again you need to articulate to your customers as well, that they need to go and spread the risk. SMB again, I think I have just spoken about SMB. I am not going to be touching upon this point because SMB is a huge opportunity. 51 million is something which is there, and partner I guess have already started in cashing that particular opportunity. And in fact, a lot of OEMs have started routing those opportunities through these partners. Domain expertise, I think there are certain sectors, because I think most of the organization so far has been just focusing only on few sectors. I do not want to name them up, but I think we need to think something beyond that. Apart from the legacy domains, and I guess we need to identify those set of domains which really have that kind of a scope. So, yes, there are certain sectors where the government has started really investing, and in fact, the sector itself has started growing in a very big way. So, these are a couple of the sectors which are really doing good. When we look at the messaging piece, then vendor sale is again important, because one thing which I have just mentioned, that most of the vendors, they want a positive EBITDA. So, if they are looking at the positive EBITDA, means that somewhere down the line they have to choose partners to drive SMB business for them. Inward digital transformation, obviously we are the change agents. We talk about technology, we go with a very consultative approach to our customers, but are we actually adopting those technology? I can see a lot of partners, they still have those legacy infrastructure. I mean, there has to be a willingness, I guess, apart from the resources what you guys have, that need to be incorporated there, when it comes to inward digital transformation. Another challenge which most of the partners have been facing is around attracting and retaining your employees. If we look at the current scenario, we can see that millennials will going to be comprising of 75% of the total workforce by 2025. This means somewhere down the line, you need to align with what millennials are looking at, and what millennials are looking at is the work life integration. So, we need to provide them with an ecosystem, not only in terms of the technology or the infrastructure, but also in terms of the mindset. If we expect them to work after office hours, then definitely we need to give them some flexibility during the office hours, so that they can manage both their personal work as well as the official work. And that is what change in the mindset within the channel community is very much required. The last point, which is very important and very close to my heart, is all about building your own IP. I think this is the trend. This is the single most profitable way to differentiate your business. And so, if you look at, I think the 75% of the ISVs have been working towards improving the current processes. But what I feel is, rather than improving the current processes, they should develop apps that enable the new ways of doing business. And if you look at the current ISVs, I think globally it is expected that the ISV community will going to be almost 1 million by 2022, and India will going to be having close to 18% of the total ISVs across the globe. So, India will going to be having a lot of opportunity. So, we expect you guys to really start looking at this particular thing. I can see that the reason of doing this ISV award in this particular region is that we definitely want local players like you guys to really come up and start creating your own IPs. That is the trend, and that will definitely going to differentiate your business and your profitability itself. So, that is it for me, and this is something what we got a recognition last year, which I think Kalpana already mentioned, and this was there in the entire Asia Pacific, for the fastest growing channel media in the entire Asia Pacific, which comprise of close to 12 countries. Thank you so very much.